Welcome to another episode of the ALBUMREVIEW.net podcast. I'm Greg Potters. Today's conversation is with a gentleman who I met in San Diego about 3 weeks ago. San Diego, California, that is, of course. While stopping off quickly at a grocery store, this guest saw my album review shirt that I typically show off and asked if I would take a listen to his band. I was delighted by his courage, and indeed, I did take a listen. And for the remainder of my week-long trip through San Diego and Los Angeles, this person's band, with the exception of a little David Gilmour, this guy's band was pretty much the soundtrack of my trip. So today's episode in many ways is special. It's special because I got to meet Christopher Thiel. Chris is a young man, musician, father, hard worker, lover of the California beach, and an exceptional drummer. Chris's band, the Aura and Ovation, or AO, as he called it a few times, is a band from San Diego that you guys must hear. I know you'll enjoy this conversation as Chris is an incredibly honest, thoughtful, and talented musician, and a part of getting together with him was to talk about his desire to rekindle that fire he had with his band. Now, Aura and Ovation have not recorded or played together in several years, and it's my intention to help Chris by getting him to tell his story to the masses. And one day soon, perhaps, we'll be able to witness an Aura and Ovation reunion show. After hearing their music, I think many of you will agree. So, as we celebrate the holidays, sit back, but pay attention to this amazing conversation that I had with drummer, artist, musician, dreamer, and all-around stand-up guy, Chris Thiel. Let's do this.
Did you hear that? Oh, that's you. Okay.
How are you, man? How you been?
I'm good. Just trying to stay musical is what I'm trying to do.
I hear ya. Me as well. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin, but I guess I'll begin. So we obviously met in what I think is one of the best ways, and this is why I love doing this job. So I walked into which by the way, I still have a couple of the items that I bought at your store. I was like combing the aisles looking for tequila. I've gotten into reposado a lot lately. However, I'm not a super big drinker as much anymore, but I still dabble. And I was out in California visiting some friends. And then you were behind the counter and we struck up a conversation and asked me to listen to your bands. I'm not blowing any sunshine up your ass, man. Like your music was basically the soundtrack of the rest of my trip out there. I was staying with three of my buddies and I was making them listen to it the whole time too. And everybody enjoyed it. We had an Airbnb not too far from your store and we were cranking it on my Bluetooth later that night when we got home. So I was really excited. I do get a reasonable amount of submissions regularly and I really want to support musicians of any sort, but not everything grabs me, for lack of a better word, and your music really grabbed me. I think the first thing I heard was On These Brilliant Nights, and you guys recorded that a while ago, and it's featured on your debut self-titled album, which came out all the way back in 2015. So we're talking like almost 10 years ago. Is that right? Yeah.
On these brilliant nights, the verses lift and press into flight. Our wanderings and the scary things scream violently inside. These flesh and these walls echoing, repeating things like I'm not on my own. And I can't be on my own. I can't turn to make my own life home. Seems like I need brokenness in a canvas, led to an empathetic home, where the statues grow. They sway and they moan and they moan and they moan. They mumble dreams and fantasies like they were made of stone.
But anyway, I'm really glad you reached out. I'm here to help. I want to chat with you. And if there's anything that you don't feel comfortable answering, that's fine. But I try to get under the hood a little bit with some of the people that I talk to, just because I think that's more interesting. But I also want to help get the word out there more about your band. I truly believe that you guys have a lot of talent, and I'd love to hear more of your story. So first, I want to start off, like, you told me that you've been, correct me if I'm wrong here, you told me that you've been trying to push your band's music. So your band's name is, so do you guys go by, I might butcher this, but do you guys go by AO or the Aura and Ovation? Or like when you're talking to people about your band, like what do you typically call yourselves?
I try to throw out the name, the Aura and Ovation, but people are always like, innovation? Or I just say, oh, we say AO for sure.
That's funny. Yeah, I got you. Okay, cool. You told me you've been trying to push your band's music, the Aura and Ovation. I think more listeners are going to, once this airs, more listeners are going to know about you guys, in my humble opinion. You're trying to push the music in a more well-meaning direction. And the other band members, you wanted to hopefully get them back into playing shows again and maybe recording. So have you guys been on a hiatus for a while?
We have, I think, since 2018, 2019.
So like right before the pandemic.
Yeah, we had our last show at the Marrow.
Okay.
I think that's North Park area in San Diego. We played a few shows there, but I don't really remember what ended it. I'm not sure. I remember the last show we played. I remember we recorded it. We had a friend record it on my phone, and I always look back to that, but I can't remember. I know we all have kids. We all have kids mostly, and it definitely takes precedence, and that could have probably been what it was. We could
just get busy, and you got other priorities, and those things happen.
So I think something like this could really bring them back, well, reaching people. Even though when we were playing shows, you only had those super eclectic, awesome people that were there, but it was only like maybe one person, two people, and then the people we brought. But it would be cool to be able to bring people our music and just try to find that spark, try to find what it is. And I want to mention that two of our favorite bands played a show together at Petco, which is
Padres Stadium. Yeah.
And it was a great show. I knew that the other guys were going to be there. We got three other people in the band. So Mike, Jesse, and Paul wasn't at that show, but Jesse and Mike are always checking out Thrice and Manchester Orchestra shows, and that's who was playing.
Okay, cool.
And we always end up at those shows together. I'll always end up going there by myself. And just
I do that a lot too. Yeah.
Meet up with them there. So I'm always trying to get them back into the band. Oh, let's try to do some vocalist guitarist, main vocalist guitarist. Took the trolley halfway. So when I was there with him, I took the trolley with him, and I was just trying to be like, what are you doing musically? What's up with that studio you were trying to build in your house? Trying to like just, what's up? And he was like, we just got the final okay for our studio at our house and all these things. And every time he says that, I get like a little, is the band going to get back together? Is this possible? And yeah, I can't really recall what it was that brought us to do our own things, but it's always on my mind, like, how are we going to get this band back together?
Yeah, I give you a lot of credit and a lot of props for having the heart and having the determination to do that. And it sounds like you're doing the right thing. It sounds like everybody's just busy. And maybe it just takes it's funny, on the eve of this recording this podcast, a band that they might not necessarily be as well known out west, but so I'm from the Boston area and I've lived in different parts of the country. And I want to bore you with this later, but I actually grew up twice a year. I was in San Diego. My grandparents moved there in the early 70s. And I grew up going to Chargers games and Jack Murphy Stadium, seeing Padres games. And so it feels like a second home to me. And I get a real, I don't know, I get a lot of goosebumps when I'm there. My grandparents have been passed for a long time now. So when I go back there, I feel like there's a lot of ghosts. But when I was there with my friends, I made them do the Potters tour, where I was like going to places like playgrounds that I played at when I was a little kid. And yeah, and it wasn't until I got to college that I had a friend, actually post college, that I had a friend move to PB. And that's actually who I was out visiting, or one of the guys I was out visiting. But we all grew up here in Boston. On the eve of this, so yesterday I actually found out that a band that they're called Addison Groove Project, and they were fairly reasonable on the like ska, jam, funk, maybe not as like heavy as you guys, but they're like guitar, bass, drums, but like more, but with some jazz mixed in. And I'm trying to think of it. Anyway, they just announced that they're doing like a reunion show. And I was just like, this is so funny that I'm talking to Chris tomorrow. And what kind of set these guys a little bit apart was the unfortunate death of one of their main band members. But this was back in 2000. Forgive me, people who are listening, but this was like back in, I think, 2002 or 3. And it was just, I think, so painful for the guys that they weren't like, that's it, it's over. But they just all went their own ways. And they're doing 2 shows, unfortunately, only here on the East Coast, one in Boston and one in New York City. But like one guy's a doctor, one guy's a teacher, another guy's a software engineer. And so they rekindled that love again for their band. And they were really good. And I really mean it when I say I think you guys are really freaking talented. You never know. I just feel like there's this aura in the air right now. So, but it sounds like there wasn't, like you've said a couple times already, Chris, there wasn't like this one thing or one moment that sort of caused you guys to just slow down or really stop. It wasn't like an incident or anything like that. It just like everyone got older, people started getting married, started having kids, and started having different priorities. Does that sound accurate? Yeah. Yeah. So
The kids to share.
the kids. Yeah. I was creeping on your Instagram a couple days ago and I saw a lot of awesome posts, which I want to go into later too. I got a lot I want to cover. I actually took some notes, but I think most admired, in addition to your music stuff, I admired just like I could tell by reading even the short passages, like the love you have for your son. You have one son. Yeah. I have 2 boys, 14 and 12. And actually my 12-year-old just got home from school a couple minutes ago. And I wanted to, after I got off my last call, just wanted to say hey to him before jumping on this call. But I don't know, it warmed my heart. Another thing that I felt like I had in common with you, the music thing. Of course, you're a way more talented drummer than I would ever be, but we'll talk about that another time. So are you originally from San Diego, Chris?
Born in LA, but grew up San Diego. I was 3.
Nice. Okay.
37 Manville.
Pretty much grew up there. Yeah. Yeah. And when did you start playing music?
2 years old is when my mom gave me the pots and pans, and you were just like, hitting pans and stuff. And, my mom's in the other room. She'll know that I'm okay if she hears me just hitting pots and pans. So that's what I was doing.
That was the instead of iPads back then, right? That was because I know my kids, I'm embarrassed to admit, but we got to the point where we got so exhausted, we're just like, here's an iPad. I need 5 minutes to go to the bathroom. That was the iPad.
Or I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so a really long time. And if you don't mind me asking, I ask this of everybody because I'm truly interested. What was life like growing up for you?
We moved around a lot.
Okay.
We moved around a lot. Parents divorced when I was 3. Mom moved to San Diego. Dad stayed in LA. And it was like I'm in the beach town, so I'm by the beach all the time, going like body surfing and stuff like that. I would tag along with my brother. I would follow him like I was a shadow until we grew up. But yeah, it was just learning to skateboard, trying to be the cool kid. And drums got a hold of me when I got my first adult kit. But yeah, it's just a beach life and moving around a lot. Stayed in San Diego and Pacific Beach, Claremont area, and then moved for a little stint up in Big Bear. It's a long story for that. That's a long story, but yeah, that's mostly it.
And so reason I asked this next question is because I'll let the cat out of the bag. This is precisely why I got into music. My childhood, I can't really complain, but like a lot of kids, there were challenges. So I immersed myself early on in music to escape, to go into my own world whenever there was stresses. I felt this was well before I was drinking or do anything like that. Did you connect with music at an early age as a sort of an escape?
It's just inherently in me. My dad is musical.
Yeah, cool.
His main instrument is bass, and he could play any instrument. But his main instrument was bass. He played Hands Across America. He did a bunch of shows. My oldest brother, Chaz, is my half brother. He also plays guitar, drums.
Nice.
I gathered a lot of vocality from them. It was always around me. Oldest brother was into Nirvana and Red Hot Chili Peppers. My dad was into like all those 80 bands. Like I remember when he was building his own house up in LA when I was 11, 12, 13-ish. He would leave like music stuff like all around the house. And I saw a Metallica album there, and it was the Load album. And one of the songs on there is The House That Jack Built. My dad's name is Jack, and we were building a house. It was
nice. That has definitely a big impression on a kid, for sure. Yeah.
I was like, what is this?
Did they write this for you, Dad? Were you always a drummer, Chris? Was drums? It sounds like you've already answered this question indirectly, but were drums the first instrument that you picked up?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
And drums were the first thing I really ran with the most about it. Like beginning of high school, I wanted to start a band, and I asked a few guys that I saw in class that had like maybe a magazine, like a Revolver magazine or something. I'd be like, hey, you play an instrument? I have a drum kit. Do you guys want to start a band? And he was just like, yeah, let's start a band.
So is it like the kind of quintessential garage band or basement band, or how did that work?
But we played a lot of shows when I was in San Diego. House parties.
Nice.
The occasional venues. We actually played a bar once, and we were all like under 18. They let us play this bar downtown, and then we had to leave right after that. But I think I still have the flyer to this day. It's
gotta keep those.
That's the Rosary Room downtown. I don't even know if that place is still there, but it was a cool little spot. And playing with Hemlock, who I think is still playing around these times. But it was a metal band. We were definitely trying to play as hard and as fast as we could.
Okay. Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. Metal was my entrance into music, and it wasn't until I got a little older. I didn't have an older brother, so like I had to get into my own stuff, and all my friends had older brothers, and they were like, "You ever heard Miles Davis?" And I was like, "Who? Is that metal? If it's not, I'm not interested." And they were like, "Just sit down, son. Come on over tomorrow night and sit down." So yeah. Who are some of your biggest influences? Maybe like
Lars Ulrich.
Lars Ulrich. I was just gonna say, okay, if that makes me feel great. That was the first thing I was thinking of.
Yeah, it was what's that? It was like a DVD called like Something Stunts. I can't remember. It was like Something Stunts, but it came out during their hiatus shows.
Yep.
Right before their hiatus, it was Black Album and then Load Album.
Yep.
I could be mistaken. It could have been during the Load Album.
Okay.
And they had just barely wrote a few songs for the Reload album. But they put out this DVD, and it was just like all these different angles with the cameras, and it's stunts, I think.
Okay.
Cutting stunts. And it just blew my mind, dude. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to play music like this. So many people nowadays will say, no, Lars Ulrich doesn't know how to work a kit. He knows how to work a kit. I work the kit exactly.
I agree. I've heard that before too. And that blows I'm an old school Metallica fan, so we could duke it out someday, maybe when I'm back out there. I was heavily into Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning. And in the 90s, after the Black Album, I tuned out a little bit and then I came back with Death Magnetic. Maybe one day we could do a Metallica uh, album review. That'd be awesome. But I've had some friends in the past that have said, yeah, Lars, I don't know. He doesn't really know how to work a kit. I think that's blasphemous. I can remember seeing the video. So this was 88. So I was 11 years old. And I saw the video for one. And I remember they freeze frame on his feet during the video doing the double kick drums. And I was like, I'd never seen anything like that before. So for a very long period of time, he was God to me. Okay, quick. Who greatest rock drummer ever? Who, in your opinion? This is opinion. Who's the greatest rock drummer ever, in your opinion?
I want to say John Bonham.
There's no right or wrong answer. This is your opinion.
You got to be like the first person to like know the patterns on the kit.
Yeah.
With the way you push the energy, it's got to be John Bonham.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's if you got to emulate the greats, and I don't know, especially because I want to make sure that everybody who says that I'm such a great drummer, I want to validate that.
Yeah, I think you already have, but yeah, I think
the way I do it before I did it.
This conversation's more about you. I just have to say, I'm of the Neil Peart camp. I was a huge Rush fan. However, I have tried to copy. I'm a bass player, but I picked up a kit about 5 years ago and started playing. So I'm scale of 1 to 10. I'm a 1, maybe a 1.2. But I played along to some. Right now, I can crush Black Crowes and AC/DC. But then a lot of drummers told me, anybody can do that, dude. So no offense to the bands, but I couldn't do. To me, as an inexperienced non-experienced drummer, Bonham sounded easy until I sat down at the kit, and then that blew my mind. With Neil, I can't even freaking air drum his stuff, and so that to me was. But no, I think I've listened to interviews. I've interviewed other musicians, and I've listened to interviews of people I'd love to have on the podcast. Like most recently, Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he was like, "Oh, hands down, Bonham, like hands down." And Lars said the same thing. So I have to respect those opinions, and I don't think it's necessarily just the popular opinion. I hear that from a lot of drummers. So I believe there's a lot of validity to that. Like I told you, I took a sneak peek at your Instagram page a week or so ago. I just got home. I was in San Diego, and then my buddies and I went up to LA actually to see the David Gilmour show up at the Hollywood Bowl. And yeah, but when I got back, I started geeking out on more of your stuff. And I saw one of your posts about the drum off competitions, and I can actually see the trophies now behind you at your house. Hats off to you, man. That's awesome. Could you tell me a little bit more? Could you brag for a minute about yourself and tell me a little bit more about these awards?
My family and friends are the ones that told me about that drum off competition at Guitar Center. I think they're the ones that convinced me to do it. It's still a little hazy to me, but 2011 was the first time I entered. And it's a 3-minute drum solo. So I took 2 weeks to practice something before, because it's like a preliminary and then a store final and then a final. There's stages to it.
Okay.
And I only took 2 weeks to do this first drum solo in 2011. And I stole this crazy mathed out beat from Opeth's Deliverance.
Okay.
And it was basically a minute of what he does on the drum kit.
Wow.
I haven't done anybody that. So I mathed that a lot. And then
I heard it first.
What was that?
I said, you heard it first here.
Yes. And the last maybe 30 seconds of the drum solo is this one crossover beat that I learned from, what's his name? Mike Johnson. He plays for Vader Stigs. I think he's on Vinyl, maybe.
Okay.
But he has like this website that just has all his like little videos and stuff. And I saw the crossover beat. I was like, whoa, like I hear it, like I can play it. So I'm going to try playing that. And so I played it. I got so good at that crossover beat in that 2 weeks that I decided to add a stick flip in there. So I started doing the stick flip in between every crossover beat. And that seemed to like just grab the judge's attention. And they were just like, oh, this kid, they loved it. And I was so stoked. And I also entered every drum off up until 2016 after.
Okay.
Once I did 6 years straight, whether I was prepared or not. Those ones that I want, that stick flip somewhere in it, whether it was the cymbals or the tones, I made that my signature thing, adding to a Mike Johnson crossover fill.
Now, wait, sorry. I have to plead ignorance. Tell me who Mike Johnson is.
Mike Johnson, he's really big on Instagram now. He's got own lessons that he does.
Okay. All right. I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, he used to be in a band. I can't remember the band name, but he was in a band back in like early 2000s.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
And after that, he started teaching. I think he found that he did that better. And those are his words, not mine. He thinks better at teaching. And not that there's anything wrong with teaching being less than what it is, but
a lot of people go into that.
So
you emulated his crossover. And that was just an idea, but you put your own twist to it.
I did, yes.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. Congratulations. And I can see the awards up behind you, but that's not a small thing. And as I was learning more about you just by looking at your social media, and I was like, oh, this guy. I still say kid, like even my buddies from high school, when we're all in our late 40s, and I'm like, this kid that I talk to. Sorry, I still do that. My kids say bro, and I guess I was past that for some reason. So kid and dude were in I still say dude for everything. I call my wife dude, for better or for worse. So getting back to your band, and I want to go back and forth a little bit here, but like, this is really interesting stuff. But from a writing standpoint, like, I guess I'll back up. Do you have some AO songs that are your favorites or that you're most proud of?
I do have a favorite and I'm most proud of. That would be the Past the Night track of the titled album.
Gather around, hold each other close, smile because you just know we're here for a while. Yet a fraction of time in a world of generation passing by, passing us by. Now it's time to show just how we glow. All such a sight to behold. We radiate bright. We light up the night. We light up the night. A light in the dark to pass the night.
I wrote that one on guitar. I started picking up the guitar.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that, man. I was enjoying some of that. You had some videos on your Instagram page too.
I've got them there. I picked up the guitar, I think, also because of family and friends. I think my mom bought me a guitar. Just a little travel guitar, a little Taylor, baby Taylor. And I think it was the guys in Aura Ovation that kind of pushed me into writing music. I have a song, well, actually it's a cover song, Thrice is Image of the Invisible.
Okay.
And they pushed me to do background vocals while I was on the drums. And it showed that I have a clean vocal, and I just
Have some vocal talent, which you might not have been aware of before.
I was not aware of the singing vocals. Screaming vocals, yes. My high school metal band, I had the screaming background vocal,
Nice.
but the singing vocals, yes.
Nice. So in addition to Pass the Night, I really dug, I dug all of it. I was listening to it. I was binging on it. I'm not kidding you. Like, it was like the soundtrack of, there's another band from Chicago that I was trying to get my buddies into, and it didn't really stick with any of them. So after the second, I was like, all right. But I was just like, when we were like at our Airbnb, just like gearing up, getting ready to go out, or like I was cooking dinner one night, doing the dishes, and I just like had your tunes on these brilliant nights. I also really dug Canyon Walls. So I think that was the first one that I put on, and I think it was just random. And then also, I got to say, your drumming on the song The Lighthouse or the Dull Beacon, in my opinion, Chris, is well above average.
I tried to tell you some things, like some beacon on a hill. If you just stare at glowing towers, I know your eyes will just get filled with the sights and glares of this one man and his notions on his hill. The filament is flickering, and heavy sound his voice is shrill. And now the ship's
Were you using double bass on that?
I was, yeah. There was a lot of tone work too.
Does not sound easy at all.
It's actually really, I don't know why it's easy for me. It's
Well,
easy. I don't mean to like toot my own
I can understand. No, I can understand that. I play bass, and there are pieces of it that are easy for me. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I understand.
Oh, dude, all good. Yeah, there's just certain beats that are easy to play, and that one came to me easily. But gosh, what to say about that song? That I try to math out the songs very like under the radar, and gosh, I try to math them out very under the radar because I felt like there was a type of music that we were trying to emulate, and it was definitely something like Thrice or Manchester Orchestra, where you're showing that you have good musicality on your instrument, but you also have the same for like vocals, or it's trying to be like the well-rounded musician. I definitely had a tone down my drumming from being in metal bands for 10 years and then starting that project with this project with these guys. So, I mean, that beat was like a fluke. I always throw in, just trying to like, oh, I push this little heavy beat onto them or not. And they're like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. We did a one take rough draft of the song and we listened back. Yeah, that's got to be the beat on it. That tone beat. And it stuck.
When I heard it, I always take notes to just prepare for some of these calls, and I don't really prepare too much. I'm not too rigid, but just, I don't know about you, man, but like my memory is cooked. I can remember like the shirt I wore April 1st, 1995, but I can't remember what I had for freaking dinner last night. I don't know why, but it just is what it is. I guess it's getting old. But I wrote down Nico McBrain and Lars Ulrich. Like, those were the two drummers that kind of stuck out to me, which are up towards some of my favorites.
Do you want to move the camera real quick?
Not at all. No, not at all.
Speaking of Nico, I got his.
Oh, beautiful. That's awesome. Oh man. So tell me that story. How'd you get his autograph?
Okay, the NAMM
No, I don't think so.
festival, or
Oh yes, it's yes, I have heard of that before.
it's like a festival slash. Yeah. Anyway, there's the NAMM festival, and they have it up in Anaheim, and they have all those booths and everything for all the new stuff and new instruments, new accessories for your instruments, all that stuff. And they also have people that are signing stuff that are with that company.
Right.
And he plays for Remo Drumhead, so he was signing signature heads. He was there. There's also another guy that signed on there, but I can't remember his name. Sorry to whoever that was.
Well, I've heard Nico is I've seen the band.
Oh.
I've seen Maiden in concert several times, 4 or 5. I guess that's, for me, that's a lot. And I've heard he's an amazing person, like a super nice guy and really down to earth.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy. He took a picture. I have it on my Instagram, or I might have it on the archived part of no, but he's like doing a thumbs up. Such a chill guy.
That's awesome. Oh man, that's awesome. But yeah, those were the names that came to me, and it wasn't just out of the blue. It was like, he sounds like that. And I think those are some 2 pretty established, we already talked about it. We know there's established drummers there.
The wind is blowing dirt and dust and dreams. In the space my mind keeps flowing, chasing thoughts and hurts and screams. And we're singing in the night, with all my stomach, all my mind. We sing things in the night. The sun can hear but takes its time. I bet a piece of you is there, in fluttered air where I can't see. And still a piece of me is there. The heavy parts I couldn't bear. The heavy parts I couldn't bear. The heavy parts I couldn't bear. The heavy parts I couldn't bear.
Hi, I'm Greg Potters with the ALBUMREVIEW.net podcast. Do you want to amplify your passion? Well, now you can. Introducing CreateMyPodcast.com. Now there is a place you can go to get help building your own podcasts. If you're a business owner or an entrepreneur and you're taking the leap like I did and starting a podcast, I can help. I will walk you through a step-by-step process on how to launch, publish, and grow your podcast. I can also offer quick, easy tips on the best equipment, software, and tips and tricks that are going to be right for you and your budget. To get started, go to createmypodcast.com or message me directly at gpotters@createmypodcast.com. Let's get started.
Ovation to be sung. All our songs and all our stories scream as one. Climb atop your hills and statues, clang your tin and bang your drum. And as the ruins fall, we hear sounds that ring the canyon walls. We hear sounds that ring the canyon songs in unison, reaching far beyond our lungs. With all of creation, all we've won has come undone. We stride free across the desert, feeding flames and fires within. And as the ruins fall, we hear sounds that ring the canyon walls. We hear sounds that ring the canyon walls. The walls. Revelry amongst the dirt and dust and dove in every sky. Hear all our noise, feel all our clamor that shakes the walls that have no name. And hear my song.
So, Chris, you alluded a little bit to what some of the other guys in your band are up to these days. And you still keep in touch a little bit? Are they all in the general San Diego area?
They are all in San Diego. Yes.
Awesome.
I'm usually the one that's trying to reach out to them.
Yeah.
And I can only speculate as to why that is. I don't try to push it on them
Sure.
because I always felt like I was still in the band,
Right.
even though we haven't talked about it.
Taking a break. You're just taking a break. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I've got their stuff all over our walls, like our t-shirts and our albums. And I'm always thinking about those guys and let them know, oh, this is what I'm doing now. Like just yesterday, I sent them a video of 1 minute video of something I was writing yesterday on the guitar. And I don't even know if they responded. They might not have responded, but I feel like they're always like letting me know where I'm at. Like, if they respond to something,
They're
else,
honest with you, right? They're honest with you.
they'll
Yeah.
honest. They're
Yeah.
very,
Well, you need that when you're in a band because it's like a family, right? Those are your brothers.
of course. Yes. And yeah, because I know we have our own things going on. And it goes without saying, shows that it goes without saying that we're still friends and we're always thinking about each other. But Like I sent them a video of one of our last shows a couple days ago, and they all got super hyped about it. Oh, this is the show where I used all 3 of my basses. I got a lot better at background vocals or something like that.
Right.
And I remember it being a good turnout, and you could just see the energy in that video clip. So I just try to sprinkle a little bit of, hey, I'm here. I'm always going to be musical. I want to do music with you. And I just hope that one day we'll all get there. Want to do that again. Mike has already gotten his feelers out there for the music scene again.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. Eventually, it's going to happen. Your kids are going to get older. I still get up early in the morning and make my 12-year-old breakfast. He doesn't need me to, but I do it because I miss that. But when you're in that zone, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but when I'm in that zone, there were times where I was like, I'm so exhausted. I want to hire somebody for 5 minutes just to take my kid to the park. And we would have that sometimes. But then when it withered away a little bit, then I missed it. So my 14-year-old, who's a freshman now, I'm all set, Dad, like with everything. He's, I got it. And I'm like, oh my God, like my 12-year-old's going to be like that soon too. This has afforded me really the opportunity to spend more time doing some of the things that I love, but also checking in with them. I don't know how old, you have to go through all of them, but I don't know how old the guys' kids are, but eventually I think they're going to get to a point where it's like, oh man, all right, the day-to-day grind of being a parent is slowing down a little bit. And now it's more that emotional part that we're still driving them around to different events and stuff like that. But perhaps that could be, because I know for me, I've been jamming a lot more with people whose kids have gotten a little older, whereas some of my friends who were late in life having kids, like in their late 40s, even some in their 50s, they're in it right now. Like I got one he's got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I was like, I'll talk to you in 3 years. I try to come by and visit him from time to time, but I think I'm mentioning all this because I think from my experience that if the love is there, if it's even half as strong as it is, I can tell from coming from you, then it'll happen, man. It'll happen. I think you just need to keep doing what you're doing. So I wish there was more out there on the internet that, about you guys. I did creep on some of your YouTube videos and did watch some of your shows, but I think the fact that I couldn't find like a ton of information, and maybe I just wasn't looking in the right place, I think that's what makes you guys a little mysterious too. I don't know about you, but I like a little mysterious. Like the second I see a band that I like doing like a Cheetos commercial, then I'm like, oh God. And that's just me, but I feel that's something that's cool. I like to dig deeper as well. And I think when I listen to your band and when I listen to the music, the first word that comes up is mysterious. And what I mean by that is it's progressive, it's rock, but it's also very melodic. It's not, this is my opinion. It's not folky per se. It's not heavy metal necessarily. I'm trying to think of another band that might fall into the genre for some of the listeners that are hearing this, but I can't. I really feel like you guys have an original sound. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think that you're hitting the nail right on the head with what we're trying to achieve. If not mysterious, then it would be something more not like lighthearted and a heavy movement. So we have really meaningful lyrics that come from a very meaningful place. And a lot of them are like really wearing our heart on our sleeve. And it gets woven into the musical part of it all in a way that does make you think that it's something else. But if you want to dive deeper into our music, you'll see that we have layers. And we're like, I said layers. It reminded me of Shrek. I'm like onion. I have layers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whenever you talk about someone or something that you're like learning more, you use the term peel back the onion. So I get it.
Yeah, we definitely try to go for that depth there. Like in our shows, we'll add like a minute to our songs. It'll just be Mike on his guitar, very clean guitar. And he's singing at the top of his lungs, very meaningful lyrics that mean a lot to him.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for in a band. I used to think that playing as fast as I wanted to on my drums is what I wanted to know. This band it's man, it's given me so much drive to like be more than just a drummer, be a better dad. These guys are just they're top notch. And I think that our music shows that.
I agree, Chris. And I not only wanted to talk to you, but I wanted to also give you my word that I'm going to help push the music out there and just continue to push it and come back and revisit. Like I said, this sounds a little cheesy, but I do hear a lot of stuff, and I really want to support every musician because I believe that passion is what whittles the world down to a small, manageable size. I don't know where I heard that quote, but I stole it about 20 years ago, and it's just it's one of the most important things to me. But I really truly believe you guys do have a lot of talent. You guys do have a lot of. It seems like you have a lot of chemistry, and I play so much music, and I'm like, oh, this sounds like Nirvana, or oh, that sounds like Metallica, or this sounds whatever Miles Davis. I don't know, but
We compare it, it would definitely be compared to like Thrice or Manchester Orchestra.
Okay. So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to those bands. And the fact that both those bands played at Petco shows me clearly that they can certainly draw a crowd.
They're awesome bands. And we would love to tour with them. So I think that's like the perfect
Yeah.
trifecta if it was the three of us, because that music I feel the music that they're singing comes from the same part of your heart.
Yeah. I'm gonna use your quote, but obviously attributed to you is lighthearted and a meaningful movement. I think I got that. I think I wrote that down that you said that. And I think that's a even better explanation than mysterious to your music because it really is. It's like you hear a heavy song, it's got a good groove, it's got a great drum beat, the bass line keeps you going, and then the guitar's holy crap. And then the lead singer comes in, but it's like you can feel the passion, you can feel the emotion, and you can tell he's singing his guts out. Is there anything else? I didn't want to keep you too long. I'm close to wrapping up here. I think I've gone through most of the questions that I wanted to ask you, but is there anything else that I didn't bring up or that I didn't mention or that you'd like to bring up?
No, man, you did great. You did your homework on the band. That's cool. I was actually trying to listen to our music before we got on here, just so
That's what I did too. Yeah, it gives me motivation. I was doing that earlier this morning and then this afternoon, just about 20 minutes before I joined, I got off a call and just to get my inspiration. But I can tell you that we're gonna help get the word out there, push the music out there more. I've got some contacts I know some folks, probably not as many as you, but some folks out in Southern California that could certainly get the word out there as well. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people, just like this band I told you about, Addison Groove Project, that announced their reunion after well over 15 years of not playing. Their tickets just went on sale this morning for their show in March in Boston, and I think they're already sold out. And they went on sale at 10 a.m. this morning. I wish the same for you guys, and I want to stay along on the journey and talk to you again in the near future because if anything, the conversations that I've had on this podcast, they've also resulted in a lot of friendships. And so I felt really a connection to you. The fact that you had the wherewithal or the guts to just say, hey, man, I like your shirt. What's that about? And I got to say, when I walked out, my friend who I was with was like, that was really cool.
I get so much crap for that at work. I'll be like, hey, didn't I go to church with you? Like,
no, you're curious. And if you hadn't said anything, I wouldn't like, some days I'm in the mood and I'll just walk around and just start handing out business cards. But then some nights I was at a gig last week and I was just tired of doing it. I was like, nobody wants to hear from me right now. And I'm really glad you did that. And I'm here to help. And I really mean it when I say I really dig your music. And I think you're doing life right, man. So from what I can hear.
I'll say it on behalf of the rest of the band. This means a lot to us that you're taking time out of your day to listen to our music, to comment on our music, to just be a part of this, of what we're trying to do. And I hope that we're doing that for you too.
It's my pleasure. Yeah. Yeah. I want to pay it back as well. And I think I'm pretty confident there's going to be a lot of other people out there as well. They're going to feel the same. We need good music again. There's a lot of it out there, but I think it's hard to find. I'm a little bit of an old fuddy-duddy when it comes to the internet. And I think it's so great that we all can put our stuff out there, but it also just makes, I think, sometimes good stuff hard to find. So when I do stumble upon good stuff, I'm so happy. I feel like a kid again. I feel like a teenager when I'm like, oh my God, I'm like obsessed with this group for several months and I can't get it out of my mind. I'm walking around the house, I'm doing the dishes, I'm cooking, and it's just in my head the whole time. And I think that's what either most musicians or most folks that are really passionate about music are going through as well. Yeah, let's keep in touch and really appreciate your time and just your honesty and openness and being transparent with me. And I definitely want to talk to you again soon, Chris.
You too, Greg. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome. Thanks again for listening to this episode and my conversation with Chris Thiel from the Aura and Ovation. So, are you guys eager as I am now for a band reunion? If anything, we have to make it happen for Chris and for his love not only for the music the band created, but for his love of his band members, which are his brothers, his other family. As a member of several bands myself, I'm familiar with the bond that band members can have, and many times wonder if there's anything really quite like it. So stay tuned for more episodes with Chris as we're going to follow this through 2025 and beyond. Also, if you're interested in any of the albums or books that I've discussed in this episode or previous episodes, go to albumreview.net and pick up a copy of your own. Listen to all of my podcast album reviews at albumreview.net by clicking on the podcast tab. They can also be heard wherever podcasts are available. Please follow the show on your preferred platform so you can get regular updates on new episodes. And also, if you guys would be so kind as to pop a quick review or rate the podcast, that helps move the needle and get the word out there. I do want to hear from you, so please email me your feedback, album review requests, and any questions that you might have to gpotters@albumreview.net. That's GPOTTERS at albumreview.net. And if you'd like to get more regular updates on reviews, interviews, product and music news, go to the homepage and join the mailing list. Visit our LinkedIn and YouTube page and stay tuned for updates on Instagram, Facebook, and that thing they call TikTok. You can find me at AlbumReview.net. All right, that's it for now. Let's root for Chris. The music is solid enough to warrant a reunion at some point, whether us, the audience, are there or not. So with that said, drop the needle and keep listening.
Take a trip down by the highway. 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 Take a trip down by my highway.